Mindset of a champion, of a sales champion, it starts with hunger. Hunger. You got to be hungry. And the reason why I'm saying the word hunger is because humans, we are born to, we have to eat, right? If you don't eat, we don't survive. And, that is something that is biological in us, but to become famous or popular or rich, or that's an ego-driven power, not a biological driven power, but you have to become hungry. All right, you gotta want to win as much as you need to eat. And that's a very important first point. So, for example, when I have seminars in front of, let's say I've had a seminar in a company, there were 2,000 employees and there were probably 200 salespeople. The first question I asked was, how many of you read books? A lot of hands came up. And the next question I asked was, how many of you read sales books? Now, I'm sure that 80% of them was lying, but a lot of hands came up. I said, all right, let me pick some of you. And I took a person that I could see in their eyes, they definitely don't fucking read sales books. So I just took a person, I said, what was the last sales book you read? And if that person have to think more than 5 seconds, that means that person didn't read, right? That person didn't read. Because if people ask me what book gave me a lot of inspiration, it is just as fast for me to answer as what lunch I had. I know, because there's an old saying in an Asian old saying which says, what I see, I forget. What I hear, I remember. What I do, I know. So my point here is, for example, I just recently became a father, and many of my friends has become fathers before me. And, they tried to tell me how it was to be a father. I had no, excuse my French, fucking clue how it was to be a father until I became one. I had to do it. I had to live it. I had to experience it before I knew. And the mindset of a sales champion is a very, very, very hungry person. And what does that mean? A hungry person for learning. And this is my first advice. You guys, if you do not read books about sales, you are never gonna be a sales champion. Never. Why? Because we are not born champions. Every one of us are born as a clean sheet of paper. We are born with a mind that is completely a clean sheet of paper. Now, what environment we are born into, back to my, excuse me, my friend's Lucky Sperm Club, if we are born in the Lucky Sperm Club, we wake up in a probably very intelligent, very educated, very whatever knowledge we are born into. And all of those people that is around us, especially when we are between 0 and 6 years old, they will give us knowledge which we actually have no clue about we are getting, but we're getting the knowledge that they have. And all the rest of us, including myself. So I was born in a family where my dad, my dad is mentally ill. My mom, listen, I love them for who they are, and they made me who I am. But they didn't teach me much of what I know today. All right, they did not teach me what I know today. They taught me to fight. That they did. They taught me to go for what I want. That they did. But none of them taught me sales. None of them taught me to build a business. None of them taught me how to become wealthy. None of them taught me how to actually fish. I rather want to teach people how to fish instead of selling them or teaching them how to buy a fish. So if you guys do not read, and I'm talking from experience, listen, when I was in my 20s, and I got to be honest with you guys, reading was not something I prioritized. I didn't. I was more looking after girls. Oh my God, who's the hottest chick here? I'm gonna chase that girl. And I wasn't thinking about books, because what is books? I don't like books. And I was just thinking, how can I dress the way they like me? How can I, it was just pure egoistic, biological driven person, until I was in my first business. So I realized something. When you become an entrepreneur, you learn responsibility. You learn to take 100% responsibility, because I remember the first time we had an employee party and we were only 8 people, but it's amazing how much mess 8 people can make. Like 8 people can really mess up a fucking evening. And I remember the day after, it was Sunday, and I was high. I was probably still drunk at that time. And I woke up and I looked at that party in our office. I was like, oh my God, man, it looks like there's been 200 people to this party. But I also knew that Monday, every single person that we have hired is going to come into this office. And I had no one to clean that office. So I had to clean. I had to do everything. I was forced to take 100% responsibility. So that's what I learned. I learned as an entrepreneur to take 100% responsibility for my results. And that taught me how to read. So if you guys have not read, and I'm not joking with you, if you have not read 50 sales books, and not just about sales, about human psychology, about how people make decisions, about persuasion, about self-improvement, about how do I become, if you have not read, and I'm not talking about reading as an audiobook. I'm talking about reading, studying as you have never studied before, right? I never studied until I became an entrepreneur. If you have not done that yet, you will never become a sales champion. That's my first advice. You will never, because there is someone out there that has done that. And they are a sales champion because they read, they studied, they were hungry. As much as you want to eat, they wanted to become the best. All right. So that is the conditions we are in. We are in a market where people are hungry. I thought I was hungry until I met someone more hungry than me. And I was like, oh God, you never ate. But this person was just hungry. And that person taught me levels of hunger. All right. And that I want to give you guys, you got to study, man. All right. You got to study. And the beautiful thing about sales is that every time you study, you become better. So it's not like you just study, you can't use it. For example, when I was in my ground school, they asked me, hey, Mike, what is the capital of whatever country? I was like, I have no fucking idea. I never even listened to you, because I didn't know what I could use it for. Until I became an entrepreneur, I felt that every single word I was reading, I could use. So I became hungry. And this is probably 20 years ago. And the only reason I can sit, I'm 38 years old. I've built great businesses, but it's only since 5 years ago I became wise. All right, I became wise. And you know, I wanna tell you something that I discovered the other day. So imagine you could talk with the creator of the universe, or some call it God, Allah, you know, the creator of the universe. Imagine you could talk with the creator of the universe before your birth, and you could pick the person you would become. So you say, I want to be the most courageous person. And the creator replies, well, then I will give you monsters to terrify you so that you can come to them. Okay, then you'll say, well, I want to be patient. Well, then I will make you work harder and longer so you can learn to wait. Okay, I want to be wise. I want to be wise. I want to be smart. And the creator replies, then I will give you failures that will crush your spirit so you can learn the value of judgment. Then I would say, that sounds like a rough life, creator. Can you give me a good life? And the creator will reply, just like we measure the quality of a blacksmith by the strength of his steel, I measure you by what you are at the end, not the fire and the hammer it took to make you. A good life isn't a life that's easy. A good life is a life that makes you into a good person, and that, my son, is hard. All right? You understand that? So you have to understand that you have to do what's difficult. You have to constantly do what's difficult, and do not compare yourself with others. Only compare yourself with champions, because they know the answer. All right? I'll give you an example. The mindset of a sales champion, or the mindset of a successful business owner. See, I've seen many people starting a business still hanging around with, 9 to 5 people. And I'm asking them, and they are not successful, these business owners. And I'm asking them, who are you asking for advice? My friends. And I say, all right, but what do your friends know about making a business? No, nothing, right? Because your 9-to-5 guys' friends, they have these fears, they have these limitations, they have these opinions that a 9-to-5 person has. So do not ask your friends for advice for your business. The same thing with you guys. If you want to be a sales champion, you got to study those who are the best. And that is very important. I only became good because I studied those who were the best. I studied Kobe Bryant. I studied Michael Jordan. I studied I studied The Rock. Dr. Sumi. I studied Dr. Sumi. No, I studied those who were the best. And I didn't study what their life were. I studied how did they get the character that they needed to have to become the best. And I found the answer to become a champion is to study, is to change your approach, is to evaluate yourself, is to ask for feedback for people that are better than you, is to hang with people that are better than you, is to involve yourself with things that are difficult, is to challenge yourself. So I could teach you a lot of techniques, but that won't help you. It will not help you, because what you see, you will forget. What you hear, you will remember. You'll be like, oh yeah, hey, Mike gave me this sales trick. Yeah, but you won't know what it actually means because you haven't done it. So I could explain all of you who are not fathers how it feels to love your daughter. I could explain you the feeling I get when I see her eyes learning just a new word. I could explain you how it feels to see her take the food in the mouth in the right way, and you wouldn't have a fucking clue what I talked about. You would just be like, oh, that's nice. But because you haven't done it, you don't know. So what I can teach you is to study, all right? That's what I can teach you. This is what made me good. I wouldn't say I had all the odds against me, because I didn't, but I did have odds against me because I grew up with genetics that was making people judging me. They would be like, this guy's a dick, this guy's an asshole, this guy's not smart, this guy can say nothing. And you know, that was my you know, for me to go out in a party, that was easy because people, they saw me as oh, this guy can bring us something that we want. You remember, business is an exchange of interest, but nobody taught me how to be smart. Nobody. I took a decision in my life, and that was, I want to be the best coach that has ever fucking lived. And then I had to study those who were the best. I have done more than 10,000 hours of sales, and not just sales, every sale you can imagine. I have done what you call cold calling. I have done sales with my first business in 8 different countries. And I have knocked the doors on fashion shop owners, and I have done it so many times that I have had an opportunity. Every time I knocked the door and I got a no, I had an opportunity to reflect, why did I get a no? So normally what you would say is that that's because they don't need my product. But it took me probably 700 no's to understand, maybe it's because I do not understand what they need. Or maybe I do not understand how I come into the shop. Or maybe I do not understand what they like to see when they come in. So when I started to think about that, I realized that, wow, I know nothing. I know nothing about sales. And then I started to study. I started to read books, you know, about sales, Zig Ziglar. For example, one thing I learned that was extremely valuable for me was like, stop selling, start helping. Like, that was the best advice I've ever understood in sales. But it took me many years to really understand that. What does that mean? Stop selling, start helping. It's the same thing when you have the best friend in your life. You actually sincerely want to help that friend, right? You actually sincerely want to help that friend. But if you are, and then you try to advise them out of your world, but that's not actually helping them. Helping them is to really work on yourself to find the answer that they need. All right. So when I started doing that, my sales started to change. And the reason why my sales started to change was because I started to really understand that I am not here to sell, I'm here to help. So if I know I can help, then it's easier for me to study how I can persuade them into understand how I help. So I'll give you guys a good example. So the last 2 years, I've been building an online coaching business in Denmark, in Danish. And for 1 year, I was lucky. I was just talking, not knowing what I was doing, and I got a lot of customers. The second year, it's been shit. It's been like terrible. And that was because I started talking to customers. I thought that that's what they wanted. Instead of taking the decision of who am I actually helping, and what are they what are their fears, what are their dreams, what are their false beliefs, when I started to really put myself in their situation. And this is also a life advice: if you really want to work out a good relationship, put yourself in their position so extremely much, and forget about your reactions, forget about your brain, forget about everything about you, and just look at it from their eyes. And when you can put yourself in their eyes, you are much better positioned to actually sell them something they need. So what I figured this year was, when I tried to sell my services online, I post an advertisement. Hey man, you want to be successful, blah, 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 blah. But I was thinking from the level I am at. And you have to understand, I'm at a level I've done 4 exits. I've made multi-million dollars in exit. And they were like, who the fuck is this guy? I haven't even made $100,000 in revenue. They were like, they didn't understand me. So I made a big mistake again, thinking that they were on my level. The real sales started to happen when I put my brain in their shoes, saying, where are they now? What do they need? What do they dream of? And the only way I could get to that point was to study, was to ask experts, was to ask feedback, and was to forget about my ego. So for example, the way I'm selling it right now in my online programs is that I'm saying, hey guys, I want to teach you how to self-master yourself, so you can master your business, and then you can learn how to take massive action, and that will be guaranteed for you to 3x your business. But then what I do, I tell a story. I say, hey man, 20 years ago when I was starting out, I was thinking like this, I was feeling like this, I was considering that, and that they understand, because that's where they are at. All right? So if you want to be a sales champion, I will give you 5 advices. Number 1, study. And I mean it. If you do not spend an hour every day reading reading audiobooks, forget about it. If you do audiobooks, you're out. You're out. Audiobooks is nothing. Audiobooks is just a marketing weapon for you to buy their books, and you think, oh hey, I found a quick fix here. I can learn. You don't learn by listening. You learn by taking notes, reflecting on what you do, and really study. Imagine that you got a gun to your head, and that gun would be, I will fire that gun if you do not learn this in 1 week. You have no idea what you can learn in 1 week. Oh my God, you can learn a lot in 1 week. And then if the person who is listening to an audiobook, he will be shot after 2 days, because he wouldn't learn anything. But if you sit down and you really want to learn that, you're now going to get smart. So number 1, study. Number 2, the sale is not a sale. It is a service for helping them. You need to help. That's what you gotta serve people. If you guys want to make a lot of money, learn how to serve. You gotta serve. You gotta understand what they need, and then you have to really know that what you have is something that they need. Do not try to sell to a person that do not need what you have. You are a much better salesperson if you say, listen, I have considered all this, but I have understood that you do not need this. So thank you so much for your time. That person will give you 2 references because you were honest, you were authentic, you were great. But if you know what they need, like advice number 3, learn, and again, it's all about learning. Learn how to communicate so that person understands their own need. Do not tell them what they need. Make them realize what they need. So the strongest argument in sales is when people, by you questioning them, questions is the pathway to like results. If you are very good at asking them a question that make them realize that they need what you have, now you're winning, right? So you can only give that question by knowing exactly what they need. You understand what I mean? Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say that now I have a friend and I want to sell him the idea to go with me to Dubai, right? But if I know that this guy, he hates Arabs. Let's just say he doesn't like Arabs. Let's say that he doesn't like expensive cars. Let's say he hates to spend money on restaurants. I'm never going to try to sell it to him because there would be no way he would need that. But let's say I have a friend who appreciates luxury. And let's say I have a friend that appreciates and loves a warm climate and adventure. Now, let's say that he has a belief that Arabs are like whatever he has a belief about, he don't like them. Now, with questions, I can have him to be really convinced that it doesn't matter about the Arabs. We're going to Dubai, and that's what the focus are. So with questions, I can literally sell him the idea and the plan of going to Dubai with questions. But the only way you can question people right is by understanding exactly what they need, all right? Advice number 4, if you do not take at least 10 extra sales calls or at least 10 extra emails or at least stretch yourself a little bit more than anyone else, you are never gonna be a champion. Because like, try to just study just one person. Try to study Kobe Bryant, who is unfortunately not with us today, but try to study this guy's mindset. Oh my God. When you study that guy's mindset, you understand what a champion actually is. So for example, Michael Jordan's coach, he coached people to become the best in the world. And, you know, he asked a lot of average people, what does success mean to you? And he also asked the same questions for the champions, like you're talking about the greats, you know, the top 1%. And the cool thing is, you know, when he asked the average people, what does success mean to you? The average people would be like money, fame, recognition, and, you know, average answers. But when he asked the greats, the answer was, what does success mean to you? Like Kobe Bryant, he said, everything. That's what he said. Like some others, they said, it is unforgivable. Someone said, it is fucking dirty. Others said, it is nasty. Others said, and when you understand what success is, and you take from the greats that success is not supposed to be a comfortable procedure. Like I can guarantee you that Dr. Sumi, he has suffered so much from creating that event that he did down in Nigeria. He has, I can see he has suffered because, you know, that was not easy, man. You know, I don't even know, like, I don't even know how he got so many people at that same location in Africa. I'm impressed because he understood the language of winning. So you have to understand the language of winning. And the 5th advice I want to give you is this. Right when you want to give up, like you feel like, fuck it, nobody wants to buy this, or you feel like, shit, man, I need money for my family, I need to find another job. That is when you are at the closest for your breakthrough. Okay, just understand that. So in the moment you want to give up, that is where you are the closest to your breakthrough. And why I'm saying that is because I have given up before way too early, right? And I have also chosen not to give up too early. And those two differences taught me this. When I'm tired, when I'm exhausted, when I am stressed, when my family says I work too much or whatever, I'm getting too many no's, I realize that that's what everyone gets. That's what everyone goes through. That's what, like, we all have to go through that shit. And those who win are those who not give up. Like they go back to the books, or they go back to the feedback, or they keep going. They just keep going. And there's a video I want you all to watch. And that video is called Just Do It. Let me just see what the name is of the guy. Just Do It and speech. It is Art Williams. Art Williams. I'll write it to you here in the chat. Art Williams. This is in the 80s, right? Art Williams, just do it. So Art Williams, he was a great football coach in America, and he stands up and he talks about, and this was in the 80s, guys, this is more than 40 years ago, right? So he stands up and he says, what America needs today is great leaders, and I'll tell you what a great leader is. So then he tells a story about football players in the NFL that has been struggling for becoming famous. And then there's a person who says, oh, art is so difficult. I really have to work out so hard. Yep, you really got to do it. Oh, art, now I made it. I won my first 5 matches. Do I have to continue? Yep, you got to continue. Oh, art, you know, now I'm the champion. What do I do now? You just fucking keep doing it. What, art, you know, I want to sell my house, but the house ain't selling. Do it anyway. What, art, you know, now I'm the president. Do I have to continue? Yep, you got to continue. Because the difference from a $50,000 guy and a $500,000 guy is that he do it and 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 do it till the job gets done. He bleeds a little bit more. He works a little bit more. He saves money a little bit more. He puts in study a little bit more. And that's what you got to understand. That's the mindset of a champion. And that's just not a sales champion. That is a champion of everything. All right, I'll give you another good story. All right, so imagine, this is called the hammer theory. Imagine there is this war, like a hangar or a ship, a military ship that is sailing out in the Atlantic Ocean, right? It has the newest technology, it's very, very, very equipped. And suddenly one of the engines goes out and it stops sailing. And it has some of the America's most prominent engineers there, and everyone is trying to figure out what's wrong with the engine. Nobody can figure out. And then there's one guy who said, let's call the engine guy, which is an old dude on, you know, he's 70 years old, and you know, he's there on the boat, and the guy comes down and he goes around, he looks at the engine. Nobody has not been able to figure that engine problem out with any data or any computer for the last 12 hours. And this guy comes down, he looks at the engine, he walks around and he listens to the engine. He's like, is it weird, right? Like, he does stuff that engineers don't do. And he says, does anyone have a hammer? He says, yep, okay. And he takes a hammer, he goes around and he kind of feels the engine. And then he knocks 3 times, back, and the engine starts. And they're like, wow, whoa, great job. So what do we owe you? $30,000. $30,000 for 10 minutes? And the guy says, yeah, but it took me 50 years to understand. See, that is the hammer theory, all right? That is called mastery. So if you want to be a good salesperson, you have to dive in to study, to read, to reflect on yourself, and you have to use what I coach entrepreneurs. It's called self-mastery, right? It's self-mastery. Mastery is when you guys diving in deep. Like, you dive in deep. And let me just be honest. If you're not passionate about sales, especially if you're not passionate about human psychology, like, fuck sales then. Do something else. Like, do something else. But if you are passionate about helping people getting the right solutions, if you're passionate about understanding human behavior, and if you're passionate about these things, number one, if you do not analyze your own behavior, how could you even analyze another person's behavior? Like, me as a coach, like, I cannot coach people what I don't know. Like, I can't. So I have to really work hard on myself with what I coach. So I know, so I can say with confidence that, brother, you are doing this wrong. And he says, how do you know? Because I spent fucking 5 years doing the same as you. You understand? And that's what I mean. That's the mindset of a sales champion, all right? So I'll give you guys another thing. So, you know, I wrote my book, and it's called Above Average. And that book is not about what I want. That book is about what you guys want, all right? So let me ask you a sincere question. Everybody sitting in this conference, like, just a sincere question. And I want you to be completely honest with yourself, all right? Everyone, just be honest with yourself for once in your life. I know it's difficult, right? On a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is absolute zero growth, And 10 is maverick growth. How much do you want to grow as a salesperson, financially, mentally, relationship-wise, physically, spiritually? And now, before you answer that for yourself, take a little time to think about this, because your answer will determine your true growth. In any growth, a breakthrough must happen, and pain is inevitable, right? But suffering is a choice. So you have to decide right here, right now, that this is your time to grow. This is your time to get what you want in life. This is your time to conquer. And the only way you can conquer is by mastering things, right? And you don't master things by doing things half-assed. I learned something important in life. And that is commitment. Commitment is the craziest thing ever. Like, I also learned you cannot make a woman half pregnant. Like, you cannot make a woman half pregnant. Either she's pregnant or she's not, right? You cannot dig a half hole, right? You can't, but because we have consciousness, we tell ourselves, I dig the good enough hole. No, it's either a hole or it's not. You can't do it half. But commitment works like a universal black hole, right? If you are committed, you will attract, you will drag things into your life that you want, and it's heavier than gravity. So if you want to be a sales champion, you better commit, right? You gotta commit. And because you have consciousness, and because we have a little system inside of us that says, you know, it has like excuses. For example, a guy who wants to lose weight, he goes to a party and there's a cake and he knows he cannot eat that. He takes a piece and then his mind says, oh, it was just a little piece. Guy, dude, like, you're lying to yourself. And we are born with that because, you know, I've seen kids, they go play with another kid. They come home with a piece of toy that is not theirs, right? And then the parent says, listen, Nicholas, where do you get that from? Oh, Osmus gave it to me. So we are born to lie. You understand that? We are born to make ourselves feel better. If you want to be a champion, it's not about how good you feel about yourself. It's about how good you do for yourself. And that is a big switch. So in the end, inside of you, all of you, you know if you are actually doing what you are capable of or not. But your brain will quickly tell you, no, but you did great. You tried. But that won't fucking make you a champion. Like, it won't. Like, you tried. Oh, you're good, you tried. And then you go ask all the average salespeople about, what do you think? Oh, I think you did great. Don't ask the average salespeople. Ask the champion. He'll be looking at you like you're a half-ass dude. Like, you're half-ass. And you'll be like, ouch, that hurts. But that guy's telling the truth because he's the champion. And the guys who are average, they're also telling the truth, but they're average. They're average. You understand that? All right? That's very important. So my mother is the best woman in the world, and my daughter is the next best woman in the world. All right? But my mom, I never asked her for advice in sales because she had no clue. I never asked my mother advice for my business. I did that. My mom, she said, Mike, find yourself a safe job and do something that is safe. Do something that is safe. And now she's clapping her hands every time I buy her a first-class ticket. And that was because I did not take her advice. And, you know, I would call Dr. Sumi, what should I do here? Because that guy's an expert. That guy knows. And he would say, Mike, you're fucking half-assing it. Thank you, Sumi. Okay, I understand that. He would never look at me as a champion and say, oh, Mike, yeah, I think actually that's quite good, right? But if he really liked me, he would be like, you're half-assing it. You're half-assing it. So that is the mindset of a sales champion. Listen, I could give you guys a lot of sales techniques, but that won't give you anything. Nothing. It will peel off, but it's your foundation, belief, and understanding of how a champion is born. And if you want to be a champion, you better wake up and fucking want it. You understand that? Like, I wake up 5 a.m. and the first thing I do, I meditate, then I visualize, then I like my day is structured. Like, I spent my time wisely. I spent my 20s fucking up my life. I made millions and then I fucked it all up. I literally did that. I made millions and I fucked it all up. And here I am. I'm 38. Now I have to start from scratch. But at least I know. And that's why I can give you this advice. Don't do it. You guys are wasting we have one life, man. We have one life in this physical world. And every time you choose the easy path, just know that that's not the path of a champion. It's very important for you to understand. It's not the path of a champion. And then people will say, oh, you're going to get stressed if you do all that. Yeah, but look at them. Who are they? Are they champions? You'll never hear a champion will say, yeah, you probably get stressed, but then you conquer that too, motherfucker. Get in the game. All right? And then you ask a person who's a 9 to 5, like, yeah, I got to take vacation because, you know, this is too much for me. But that person is not a champion. And all the respect to that person, I respect you, right? But don't take that advice. Being a champion is not a comfortable procedure, right? When you know that fact and you wake up and you if you guys knew how much shit I had to peel off of myself to get to this point, and the reason why I'm saying this with this conviction is that I have been my own biggest, not competitor, but like I've been my own biggest downfall. And there was a point in my life, but I took a decision. I am not going to be my own biggest downfall. And then life became really hard because what I asked for, God gave me, but he didn't give it to me on my foot. He gave me the opportunity to prove that that was what I wanted. He gave me the opportunity to prove that that was what I wanted. So if you want to be a sales champion, study the best, do as the best. And then people say, be patient. Yeah, be patient, but don't sit and wait. Sit and study, sit and do, sit and try, sit and feedback, sit and just get all the knockdowns you can get and keep fucking going. And then you will end up as a champion. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much, guys.